Good afternoon, everybody. Just let me know if you all can hear me clearly. Thanks. All right, cool. So we're gonna start there, right? Last week we were doing revision on vectors and matrices, right? So what I wanted to do today, I wanted to go through some multiple choice practice on vectors and matrices. All right. So starting with the first question here, right? The question is, which of the following must be true before two matrices A and B can be multiplied, right? So we have some answers here where we have the number of rows in A is equal to the number of rows in B. That's part A. Part B, the number of columns in A is equal to the number of rows in B. And part C, the number of rows in A is equal to the number of columns in B. And the last one, D, the number of columns in A is equal to the number of columns in B, right? So if we have to multiply two matrices, which of the following has to be true? So what do you all think is the answer for first one? Take a look at the answers. Students in my class should know this. Alright, so I'm seeing some B's and D's here. Alright, so Emily and Tyrese, you're all saying B. So before we can multiply two matrices, right? If we have a matrix A and we have a matrix B and we have something like this. Let's say the order of the matrix A is M by N and the order of the matrix B is, let's say, N by P. In order for two matrices to be able to multiply, right, this number here and this number here, they have to be the same, right? Now, remember, when you have the order of a matrix, so when we're talking order of a matrix, so the order of a matrix is really written as M by N, where M represents my number of rows in the matrix, right? And this here represents the number of columns in the matrix, right? So you need to remember that. So you have to be able to know what is meant by the order of a matrix, right? So what we're saying is that the first matrix, this here, this value here must equal to this value. So therefore what we are trying to say is that the number of columns in A must equal the number of rows in B. So therefore the answer has to be B in this particular case. Alright, so the answer is B. The number of rows in your the number of columns in your first matrix must equal the number of rows in your second matrix, right? So for example, if we have, first of all, let me ask something. If I have a matrix like this, let's say 2, 1, 0, 1, 1, 2, 0, 1, 0, right? For this matrix here, what is the order of this matrix? Based on what I just said, the order of a matrix is written as m by n, where m is the number of rows and n is the number of columns. So what kind of matrix does this represent? Alright, so Tyrese is saying it's a 3 by 3 matrix. That is correct, because if you look carefully, we have one row, we have two rows, we have 3 rows. So therefore we must write it as 3 by, because we have 3 rows. And then if we look at columns, we have 1, 2, 3 columns. So therefore this is a 3 by 3 matrix, right? What about something like this? 2, 1, 2. What if you have a matrix like this? 2, 1, 2. What is the order of that second matrix? So take a look at the second matrix. We just have 2, 1, 2. What is the order of that matrix? Alright, so I'm seeing different variations of what is supposed to be the answer. Now remember, the first number represents the number of rows. So if you look carefully, we just have one row. We have one row, so therefore the first number has to be 1. 1 by, how many columns do we have? If you look carefully, we have 1, 2, 3 columns. So this matrix is a 1 by 3 matrix. Alright? So it's a 1 by 3 matrix. Alright, so let's move on to the next question. Okay? Look at question, we're looking at question 2 here. This is question 2 here. So the question is asking, what is the determinant of matrix A? Right? So this is matrix A given by 3 minus 1, 1, 2. What is the answer for question 2? Anybody else? I'm only seeing one answer. I'm seeing B. So what is the determinant of matrix E? Alright, so I'm seeing several B's. I've seen John, Jamila, Del. They're all saying B. Right? So look at something here. So the question is asking for the determinant of the matrix, right? This particular matrix here, it's a 2 by 2 matrix, right? Because we have 2 rows and we have 2 columns. It's a 2 by 2 matrix. Now, if we have, I'm going to give you something that's general here. If we have a matrix, a 2 by 2 matrix that looks like this, A, B, C, and D. Those are the elements or the numbers that you see inside the matrix. The determinant is written as this, which is A with 2 vertical lines on either side. That's how we write determinant. So the determinant of this matrix is given by this. A multiplied by D, subtract B multiplied by C. Right? That's how we find the determinant of a matrix. So all we're going to do, we're going to take the numbers that we have here. So we're going to take 3, that's this number here, and multiply by D, which is 2, minus B by C, which is minus 1, multiplied by 1. So this is 3 multiplied by 2 gives me 6, minus 1 multiplied by 1 gives me minus 1. So 6 minus 1 gives me 7, right? Now these are the kinds of questions that CXC is going to want to give you, because students have a tendency to make a mistake when it comes to directed numbers. You have to be careful with questions that have negative signs in front of them, right? So this is how we find the determinant of a matrix. There's a formula to do it, right? And this formula applies to a 2 by 2 matrix. So it's AD minus BC. So therefore the answer is 7. All right. So let's look at the third question now. Question 3. So I've given you two matrices, A and B. Both of them have different orders. And I want to know what is the order of the matrix AB. All right, so I'm seeing some answers and seeing some C's. Right, so we're gonna apply the same thing I spoke about in question 1. Let me ask you a question. What is the order of the matrix E? What is the order of the matrix E? So remember, order of a matrix is how many rows by how many columns we have. So what is the order of the matrix E? All right, so I'm seeing Del and Terry saying 3 by 2. It's a 3 by 2 matrix. So we're talking about the matrix A here. So the order of A, it's we have, look carefully, is rows by columns. You have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, right? So it's a 3 by, and we're looking at columns now. You have 1 column, we have 2 columns, so it's a 3 by 2 matrix, right? And we are multiplying by B, so we already know that B is a 2 by 2 matrix. So B is a 2 by 2 matrix. Now remember, in the first question I said, in order for two matrices to be multiplied, this number here and this number here has to be the same. So the number of columns in the first matrix must equal the number of rows in the second matrix, right? These two numbers must be the same. And also, when we do the multiplication, the order of the final matrix will be these two numbers here. It's going to be a 3 by 2 matrix, right? So the answer is C, right? And so most of you all said C, so that is correct. The answer is C. All right. So let's look at question 4 here. So it's question 4. Question is asking, which of the following is the identity matrix? All right, which of the following is the identity matrix? Question 4. All right, I've seen Terry saying C. All right, so this is just recall. You all need to know what the identity matrix is. The identity matrix is actually 1 0 0 1, right? So you just need to know that. That is the identity matrix. Question 5. What is the determinant of the identity matrix? So question 5. What is the determinant of the identity matrix? So you already know what the identity matrix is. The identity matrix is this, which is 1 0 0 1. And the question is asking, what is the determinant of the identity matrix? So question 5, what's the answer? All right, so I've seen some A's and 2 people said C. Now remember, to find the determinant, so if you want the determinant of the identity matrix, it is AD minus BC, right? So if we use that here, it's going to be 1 multiplied by 1, right, minus B by C, which is 0 by 0. So therefore this is 1 minus 0. So this is 1. So the determinant of the identity matrix is 1. All right. So the answer for question 5 is E. Let's take a look at question 6 now. All right. So question 6, you've been given a matrix A and you are being asked what is the order of this matrix. All right. So what is the order of that matrix? So question 6. Alright, I'm seeing Terry saying B, Del saying B. So again, please remember, when they are asked for the order, right, it's number of rows by number of columns. So you need to look at the matrix and you need to figure out, first of all, how many rows do I have? So if you look carefully, now a row is this. This is one row, right? So this is my first row. This here is my second row. And this here is my third row. So therefore I have 3 rows. So the order will start off like this. 3 multiplied by how many columns we have. So the columns are the vertical ones. So we have 1, 2. So we have 2 columns. So therefore the matrix, the order of this matrix is a 3 by 2 matrix. So the answer is B. Right? So the answer is B. It's a 3 by 2 matrix. What about question 7? What is the value of P if the matrix A is a singular matrix? Right? So in order to answer this question, you must know what a singular matrix is. So question 7, what is the answer for question 7? So if you all have never heard what a singular matrix is, a singular matrix is a matrix that has a determinant equal to 0, right? This is what this means. So if you see this in your multiple choice exam, just remember, for a singular matrix, right? If the matrix is singular, my determinant has to be equal to 0, right? That is what we're using here. So for a singular matrix, my determinant is equal to 0. So we know that the determinant, right, is usually written as AD minus BC, right? So let's work out the determinant. So the determinant of this matrix here is going to be, remember this is A and this is B here. So this is 3P multiplied by 1 minus BC, which is, this is B and this is C here. So it's 6 by minus 4. So therefore 3P multiplied by 1 gives me 3P minus 6 by minus 4 gives me minus 24. So therefore 3P minus minus, this will be a plus 24, right? So right now I have an expression for my determinant. But we know that the determinant here, if it's a singular matrix, it has to be equal to 0. So what you're going to do now, you're going to say 3P plus 24 is equal to 0. So therefore 3P is equal to minus 24 when you carry 24 on the right hand side. So therefore P is equal to minus 24 over 3, right? So therefore P is equal to minus 8. All right? So P is equal to minus 8. Seeing some of you all saying A. Let's double check my answer, make sure I'm correct. So that is minus 24. Are you all seeing why the answer is minus 8? All right, so there's a reason why I set the question like this, right? Because you could get some problems when you deal with minus signs, right? So the answer in this case here is actually B. All right, so be careful when you're working questions that have what we call directed numbers. All right, so in this particular one, the answer is minus 8. Moving on. Let's look at question 8, right? So read question 8 properly. A is a 2 by 2 matrix. I is my identity matrix. Which of the following is true? Which of the following is true? So question 8. What's the answer for question 8? All right, so I'll wait till I get some more answers for question 8. A is a 2 by 2 matrix and I is the identity matrix. Which of the following is true? All right, I find the answer's not coming for question 8. Let's talk about it. Okay, so if you're reading this and you're not sure what I'm asking here, right? So just make up a matrix, first of all. So let's make up a matrix A, right? Let's call this A, and let's call this 1, 2, 1, 4, something like that, right? Let's say that's my matrix A. We know that the identity matrix I is given by 1, 0, 0, 1. We met this in a previous question just now, right? Now, the first part 1 here, it's saying A by I, so A multiplied by the identity matrix is equal to the original matrix. So let's try it. 1, 2, 1, 4 multiplied by the identity matrix 1, 0, 0, 1, right? when I multiply this, now you all need to remember how to multiply a 2 by 2 matrix, right? This could come in the exam as a question. So when you're multiplying a matrix, we always multiply row by column, right? So my final answer here has to be a 2 by 2 matrix. So we're going to take this 1 and multiply by this 1. So we're going to get 1 by 1 gives me 1 plus this 2 by the 0. So therefore this answer here is 1, right? To get this number on this side here, it's row by column again. 1 by 0 is 0, 2 by 1 is 2. So I'm going to get 1, 2. 1 by 1 is 1 plus 4 by 0. I'm going to still end up with 1 here. And then 1 by 0, 4 by 1. So what you realize is that you get back the same matrix. So therefore, this part 1 is true. Let's check the second part. If we take the identity matrix 1, 0, 0, 1, and you multiply it by the original matrix, which is 1, 2, 1, 4, let's see what I get. So I know I'm going to get a 2 by 2 matrix as the answer. 1 by 1 plus 0 by 1, I'm going to get 1 here. Then on this side it'll be 1, 2 is 2 plus, so this will be 2. 0 by 1 is 0, 1 by 1 is 1. So you're going to end up back with the same matrix again. So therefore, if I take my identity matrix and multiply by any matrix, I'm going to get back the same matrix. So I multiply by A is equal to A. And the third one is correct. If I take a matrix and I multiply by the inverse of the matrix, right? This here, if we see something like this, A to the power minus 1, this is called the inverse of a matrix. So this is the inverse of matrix E. All right. So this is something you need to remember. If I take a matrix and I multiply by its inverse, I'm going to get the identity matrix. So all three of those statements are correct. So the answer is C for question 8, right? So these are my questions. These are not what you've seen in the exam papers, right? But anything is possible in the exam that you're going to get in July. All right. So just remember these rules, or these are properties when it comes to the identity matrix. If I take matrix A and I multiply by I will get back A. If I take I and multiply by A, I'm going to get back A again. And a matrix multiplied by its inverse gives me the identity matrix. So the answer is C for question 8, right? What about question 9 now? This is a vector question. Question 9. What's the answer for this one? In the diagram above, U is a vector minus 5, 6, and V is a vector 8, 3. What is CA? So you want to know what is the vector CA. That is this vector here. That's what the question wants. So question 9, I'll give you a minute to work that out. Alright, so question 9, we have two vectors. We have vector U and we have V. And in this particular case, we want to get the vector CA. Alright, so I'll wait for somebody to give me an answer before I work it out. right? Students in my class, you should know this, right? Saying del saying A. What about Emily, Tyrese, Kendall, Aaron? What do you all think is the answer for this one? Now, if you all not seeing the answer, just put what you think it is. I haven't double checked to make sure I have all the correct answers here. So I'm seeing two A's and a D. Now, this is how I taught vectors in my class, right? If you look at this diagram here, right, you want to get, the question wants to find the vector CA, right? That's what the question is asking. What is CA? So to get the vector CA, right, now I don't like to write too small here. So CA, I'm starting at C, but I want to end up at A, right? So CA is in this direction here, right? So CA is equal to, I want to start at C. So I can start at C here, go in this direction to B, and then do this. Then go in that direction, right? So CA, right? I can go from C to B. So it's CB plus BA, right? That's the first thing we need to start off. We need to look at the diagram and come up with our vector equation, right? Now, let's look at the diagram again. So CB, right, is equal to minus V, because BC was actually equal to V, right? But look at this arrow here. I'm moving in the opposite direction. That's why I need to put a minus sign here. And then I'm going to add, so plus BA. BA is in this direction. But the vector U, that's this vector here, look at this arrow here. This arrow here was pointing in that direction. So it's minus V minus U. Okay? So let's see now. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake in the answers that I gave for A, B, C, and D. So minus V now. So minus V, you know what the vector V is? V is this, 8, 3. So minus V is minus 8 minus 3 plus the vector minus U. The vector U in this case here is minus 5, 6. So therefore, that is going to be 5, 6. Sorry, 5 minus 6. Yeah, 5 minus 6. Right? So minus 8 plus 5 gives me minus 3. So this is minus 3. And then minus 3 plus minus 6 gives me minus 9. So the answer has to be minus 3 minus 9. So the answer has to be B. So question 9, the answer is B. So I've seen a lot of you all saying A. Alright. Minus 5. So take a look at that again. Let me just double check my answer, make sure it's correct. So is my answer making sense, or are you seeing a mistake in my answer? Because I've seen a lot of you all have A for your answer. So CA is equal to CB plus BA, right? So that is minus V plus minus U right, and then minus V minus U, so that's minus 8 minus 3 plus, and this will be 5 minus 6, so minus 8 plus 5 is minus 3, and yeah, so based on what I'm looking at here, the answer has to be B. All right, so y'all okay with how I got that? You need to be careful with some of these questions. Direction is important when we are doing questions pertaining to vectors. All right, and I've seen a question like this come for the exam already, so please make sure you understand how to do it. Right, my questions may be a little more challenging than what you will see in the exam, but my aim is to teach you and not give you any answers, right? All right, cool. So everybody's saying yeah. So let's move on to question 10. So question 10, all right, we have a column vector. This is what I call a column vector here. So in question 10, we have a vector A, which is given by 2, 3, right? And the question wants, what is the answer for this? So question 10, what is the answer for question 10? You have a column vector A, which is 2, 3, and you want to know what is that? So question 10, what is the answer for that? Right, I'm seeing Del and Emily saying B. That sounds about right. So what the question is asking here is, what is the magnitude of the vector? Right? So A is a column vector. When you see something like this, A with 2 vertical lines on either side, that is called the magnitude of a vector. So in general, right? In general, if I have a vector A and it's given by x, y, that's 2 numbers, then the magnitude of this vector is given by x squared plus y squared, and we find the square root of this, right? This is what we are essentially using here is Pythagoras' theorem, right? So we met this when I was reviewing vectors. So if you want to get so this here is called the magnitude of A, right? All we have to do is say 2 squared plus 3 squared, and we find the square root. So 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 9, find the square root. 9 and 4 is 13. So the answer is the square root of 13. So the answer is B. So question 10, the answer is B, right? So everybody seems to know what we're talking about here. What about question 11 now? We have a matrix, which is a 2 by 2 matrix, and we want to find what is the inverse of this matrix. So question 11. Question 11, what's the answer for this one? You have a 2 by 2 matrix, and we want to find what is the inverse of this matrix. So we have a 2 by 2 matrix. How do we find the inverse of this matrix? Alright, so seeing Del has B ready for the answer. Alright, so I'm seeing CBB. Let's see. So when they ask you, so what they're asking us here for is the inverse of a matrix, right? So here's what you need to know. When we have a matrix, which is a 2 by 2 matrix, so let's say you have this A, B, C, D, right? This is a 2 by 2 matrix. We already know that to find the determinant of a matrix, it is given by this. AD, so A by D minus BC. Right? That's how we find the determinant of a matrix. The inverse of this matrix now is actually equal to 1 over my determinant, right, multiply by the adjoint of the matrix A. Now you need to know these terms and you need to know how to do this. So here's what you do when we have what we call the adjoint of the matrix. If you have the matrix A, there's the matrix A here, the first thing we need to do, we need to swap the positions of A and D. When I swap the positions, it means that D is going to come here and A is going to come here. The next thing we need to do, right, we need to put a minus sign in front of this and put a minus sign in front of this. When you do that, this becomes minus B and this becomes minus C. So this here is how we find the inverse of a matrix, right? So basically you have two steps that you need to do. You need to find what the determinant is first of all, and then you need to find the adjoint of the matrix that they gave you, right? So there's a process to find the adjoint of the matrix. You have to swap the positions of A and D and then put a minus sign in front of B and put a minus sign in front of C. So now let's apply it to this matrix that I've given you here. So the first thing we do, we need to find the determinant. So the determinant is AD minus BC. You all know what the formula is already, so I'm just going to use the numbers now. So it's going to be 2 by 1 minus 1 by minus 4. So this will give me 2 minus 1 by minus 4 gives me minus 4. 2 minus minus 4 gives me, sorry, not 4, it gives me 6. Right? This is same as saying 2 plus 4, so this is 6. So we know the determinant. The adjoint of the matrix, right? We need to make some changes to it. So you're going to swap the position of A and D. So therefore, you're going to put 1 here and you're going to put 2 here. You're going to put a minus sign in front of this. When you put a minus sign in front of the minus 4, this becomes 4. So therefore, my inverse matrix, right, according to what I gave you up here, is 1 over my determinant. So it's 1 over 6 multiplied by the adjoint of the matrix, which will be 1 minus 1, 4, 2. So let's see which one has that. So A and B has 1/6. So 1 minus 1, 4, 2. So the answer is B. Right? So question 11, the answer is B. So you all understand how I got B? Alright, so this is just a process that you all need to know how to do. How do we find the inverse of a matrix? There's a process. Find the determinant, then you need to find the adjoint matrix, and the inverse is simply 1 over the determinant multiplied by the adjoint of the matrix. So the answer is B for question 11, right? All right, now let's do some fun stuff now. Let's look at question 12. So the diagram shows a parallelogram. AC is equal to V, AB is equal to U, E is the midpoint of BD. What is the vector AE? So the question wants, what is the vector AE? Please make sure you understand how to do a question like this, because you may see something similar to this in July. So make sure you know how to do this question. So we have a parallelogram, right? But the question wants, what is the vector AE? So question 11. Sorry, not 11, question 12. I'll wait for you all to work this out. I want you all to at least try it. Alright, so I'm seeing some people saying B. Alright, so I'm just seeing 3 Bs. What about people in my class? Josiah also saying B. Alright, so we have a few answers here. Let's take a look at the question. So the diagram shows a parallelogram where AC is equal to V, AB is equal to U, and E is the midpoint of BD. What is the vector AE? So the first thing you need to understand, you need to know what the question is asking for, right? You need to understand what the question is asking for. So the question wants to know the vector AE. So the vector AE is actually this vector here, right? That is what the question wants to know. What is the vector AE? Now, take a look at something here. This is a parallelogram, right? So I know, based on the question here, I'm telling you that AB is equal to U, right? So if this is a parallelogram, it means that CD is also equal to U, right? Because AB and CD are parallel, right? So what you can do when you get a question, write down what you know. That's the easiest thing to start off with. Also, we know that AC, so the vector AC is equal to V, right? AC is equal to V, and because it's a parallelogram, the vector BD will also be equal to V, right? So the fact that it's a parallelogram, I can make these statements, right? Now, let's look at the diagram. If I want to get the vector AE, I need to move, I can do this. I can go from A to B and then B to E. So we can start off, Now there's an alternative option. You can go this way as well. You can go A to C, then C to D, and then D to E. But that looks a little longer, right, to do. So I would go with the easier route. So I will go, so let's write the statement first of all. So the question wants the vector A, E, right? So we are starting at A and we want to end up at E. So we can go from A to B. So write that, AB plus, and then we go into from B to E, right? So this statement is true. Now, we know what AB is. AB is U. But BE now, so we need to break down that a little further. So this is AB plus BE. Now, if the point E is the midpoint of BD, it means that BE is actually a half of BD. That's what that is saying. So because E is the midpoint of BD, it means that BE is equal to a half BD. So look at something now. The vector AB, you already know what that is. That is U. Plus a half multiplied by BD. BD is this. BD is V. So therefore, it's U plus a half V. So therefore, the answer, right? So I see in all of you all saying the answer is B. That is correct. So the answer is B for this question. All right? So make sure you know how to work the problem. Look at the diagram. Always draw a diagram when you have to do a vector question. It helps you visualize. You don't have to guess anything. You're looking at the diagram and you can come up with the vector equation. Let's look at the next one, which is similar as well. So we have this one here. It's the same diagram from before, right? A parallelogram again. Easy midpoint, right? So we're doing this one here. And they want, what is the vector CE, right? So you want to get the vector CE. So question 13. So Emily is saying C, Del is saying B. Alright, I'll wait for some more answers before I work. So the question wants the vector CE. So always remember, first thing you need to understand what is being asked. They want the vector CE. So we need to draw a line from C to E. So the vector they are asking us for is this vector. Remember, direction is very, very important when you're doing vectors. So the question wants the vector CE, right? That red line that I've drawn there, that is what they're asking for. Oh, somebody asking how long should you spend on a vector question, right? So chances are the vector question could be a little tricky. So you need to spend about 2 to 3 minutes working on that question, right? Please, when you're going to do the multiple choice exam, attempt all the questions that you know for sure, right? I believe you can mark a question, like if you don't know the answer, you can mark it and then come back to the question in the exam, right? So try to answer the questions that you know how to work properly first, right? So if a vector question, you know you're gonna have problems with it, come back to that question last. Don't waste time on questions. Try to get your marks first, all right? So I'm seeing a lot of you all saying C. So you want to get the vector CE, right? So here's how we can do this. So you want to start at the point C and you want to end up at E. So you can do this. You can go from C to D and then from D to E. That's one option. Or you can do this. You can go from C to A to B, and B to E. That's another option you could use, right? So let's write down what we know first of all. So we know that the vector, let's start off with AB. So you know the vector AB is equal to U, right? So therefore, because of the parallelogram, CD is also equal to U, right? We know the vector AC is equal to V. So AC is equal to V, and because it's a parallelogram, we know that BD has to be the same thing. So BD is also equal to V. Now, I'm going to try to work it two ways for you and see if we get the same answer. So we want to get CE. So I'm going to work this route first. I'm going to do this. So let's see. So we want CE as a vector we want to work out. So we want to start at C. So it's going to be CD plus DE, right? So this is one option that you could use to work out the answer. So CD, yes, I know what CD is. CD has to be U, we know that. And DE now, right? You're going in the opposite direction, and it's the easy midpoint, so it's half, right? So this vector here is actually minus a half V, right? So CD, we know is U, plus DE, the vector DE is really minus a half V. So this answer here is U minus a half V, right? That is the vector CE. All right, so I see, right, so most of you all put C for the answer. So that's correct. So the answer is C. Now, if we had done the alternate route here, so let's say we had done this. There's another way you can work this as well, right? So CE, you want to start at C, then we go into A, then to B, and then to E. So CE is equal to this vector here, which is CA, plus this vector here, this one, which is AB, plus we're going this way here, which is BE. Now I want you to look at something here carefully. So look at the origin, look at the vector you want to find. You want to find CE. That's the vector you want to find. So our starting point here was C, and our final point is E, right? And notice something here when we write in the vectors. These two vectors here, we are the same point. We finished at A and we started back at A. So these two letters have to be the same. Look, these two letters here are the same, right? So there is a technique we're using here, right? It's not craziness we're doing here. So look at something. So the vector CA, right? CA is going in this direction, but in the opposite direction it was V. So therefore this is actually minus V, plus AB. The vector AB is U, right? And BE is really a half of V. So when you work this out here now, you're going to end up with U, and minus V plus a half V gives me minus a half V. So notice we got the same answer. We took two different routes, but we got the same answer. So the answer for question 13 is C, right? So make sure you understand that the diagram is extremely important when you're working on the question. Direction is also extremely important, okay? So let's move on to a next one now. Question 14, right? So this is another one that I made up. Let's see if you all get this one. So the diagram again shows a parallelogram, but I've given you a piece of information here. R is such that CR, the ratio CR to RD is 1 to 2. What is the vector BR? So the question wants, what is the vector BR? So question 14, I'll give you a few minutes to work that out. Let's see what you all get. So if you have to work it out, just draw a quick sketch, right? So the diagram has a parallelogram. I've given you some vectors here. So let me just write down what you should know already. So if we know AB is equal to U, because it's a parallelogram, we know that CD is also equal to U. And we know that AC is equal to V. Therefore, BD is equal to V as well, right? So these are, you write down the things that you know, right? So if in the exam in July, if they give you a parallelogram, I don't know what they're going to give you, right? They could give you any shape. Give you a trapezium, a parallelogram, just a triangle, right? But you're going to have to sketch it. And from this sketch is how you're going to figure out how to answer the question. All right, so I'm seeing some D's. One person said A. So once you have the diagram, the first thing you need to do, you need to understand what is being asked. They want to get a vector BR. So BR, you're going to draw a line from B to R. This here is the vector that you're trying to find. All right, you want to find what is the vector BR. So if you want to, another way you can help with trying to understand, since you know this is U here, this vector on this side here will also be U. If this is V, then the vector on top here is also V, right? So the first thing we need to do, we need to write the vector equation for this. So you want to find BR, right? That's what the question wants to find. So if we look at the diagram here, to go from B to R, we can do this. We can go from B to D. So you can go from B to D first of all, and then we can do this. Go from D to R. So plus dr, right? So you can start off with that equation. You have an alternative route as well. You can go this way. You can go from here to here, B to A, then A to C, and then C to R. The option is up to you. You're going to get the same answer either way. So let's see. Do we know what BD is? Where is BD? Yes, we know BD is actually equal to V. We know that. Plus dr. No. You need to be careful here now. So we need to use this ratio. The ratio of CR to RD, right, is actually 1 to 2, right? So we're talking about length here. So this length CR, right, is 1 to 2. So I want you to understand this. So this is one part, and then this line RD is divided into two parts, right? So this here is one part, and this here is a second part, right? So from here to here is one part, from here to here is a second part, right? So what that means, and you want to get dr, right? So dr is actually 2/3, right? Now the vector u is going in this direction here, but you really want to go from D to R, which is the opposite direction. So it's really minus 2/3 multiplied by u, right? So the answer is actually minus 2/3 u plus v, right? I'm trying to see one that looks like it. So in this case here, the answer has to be D. All right, so I've seen, right, so some of you all are D, so that's great. You all understand kind of way what's going on. So you need to understand how to use a ratio. When they give you a ratio in vectors, right, you need to understand how to read the ratio. The ratio is 1 to 2, which means that that line CD has to be divided into 3 equal parts, right? So therefore, dr is actually 2/3 of the full length CD. All right, so I hope I didn't confuse you all here too much. Let's move on to question, so that's 14. Move on to question 15 here. So question 15, you have two matrices, you have A and you have B. Question wants to find A, B. So this is a typical question you could potentially get in the exam, right, in July. So I want you all to work this out for me. Work out the product A, B. Question 15. Okay, Giselle, I see you saying you don't understand at all, right? What you could do is go to my CSEC Maths channel, all right? And I have several videos explaining how we do vectors, all right? Last week and week before, we basically were doing revision on vectors, all right? So question 15, I'm seeing Tyrese got D, Giovanni got D. I'll wait for everybody else to get the answer. Alright, I've seen Xavier also got D. Now, when you're doing a matrix multiplication, right? I want you to take your time. It's very easy to make a mistake when you're doing a matrix multiplication, right? So some people, right? So you want to work out A multiplied by B, right? So you start off by writing down what the two matrices are. So you have 1 minus 2, and then you have 3, 1, right? And you're multiplying that by minus 1, 3, 0, 2. So there are some students who can just come here and just write down what the answer is. Some students could do that, right? But to make sure you understand what you're doing, I'm going to add in a little extra step here. So I'm going to call, so each of the numbers that you see inside the matrix, we call those things elements. So this first element here is element 1, right? So this is row 1, column 1. This is element row 1, column 2. This is element row 2, column 1, and this is element row 2, column 2, right? So if some of you all have never done it like this, don't worry, you don't need to pay attention. Once you can multiply it, great. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to work it out in parts so you understand what we're doing. So element 1, 1, so the number that has to go there, what we're going to do, we're going to take my first row and multiply it by my first column, right? So what are we doing? We're taking this row and multiplying by this column, right? So how we multiply that, we say 1 by minus 1 plus minus 2 by 0, right? When you work this out, you're going to get minus 1 by minus 1 gives me, 1 by minus 1 gives me minus 1, and then minus 2 by 0 gives me 0. So therefore, this answer here has to be minus 1. So what that means is that this first element here is minus 1. But I'm doing it in steps so you can see what's happening. So element row 1, column 2, right? What I'm going to do, I have to take this row here, this row, multiply by this column here, right? So what we're going to do is say 1 multiplied by 3 plus minus 2 multiplied by 2, all right? 1 by 3 gives me 3, plus minus 2 by 2 gives me minus 4. So 3 minus 4 gives me minus 1. So I've worked out this number here. Next thing I need to do, I'm going to work out E21. So to work that out, I need to take this row and multiply by this column here. So this is 3 by minus 1 plus 1 by 0. So 3 by minus 1 gives me minus 3, right? Plus 0. So this gives me minus 3. So I've just worked out this number now. So the last one now, which is E22, right? I'm going to take this row by this column. So that will be 3 multiplied by 3 plus 1 multiplied by 2, right? So this is 3 3s are 9 plus 2, and that gives me 11. So therefore, I've worked out this number here. So therefore, my answer, so AB is equal to this matrix here, right? The matrix on the right hand side. So all I'm going to do now is put in the numbers. So E11 is minus 1, E12 is minus 1, this is minus 3, and this is 11. So yes, my answer is E. Now, all of this working here that I've done here, right, is not necessary, right? If you had to do this in your exam, you could have just jumped from, let's say you were being given the written exam, you can jump from here straight to this, and that is fine. But the problem is, if you make a mistake, the examiner has not seen what you are doing, all right? So this is just to show you exactly how we multiply a 2 by 2 matrix. For those of you who don't know how to multiply a 2 by 2 matrix, when the video is, so all this session is actually being recorded, so you can look back at the recording to see how I'm actually doing the multiplication. So the answer is actually E, right? So let's move on to the next question now. What's the next question? Next question is question 16, which is another vector question. So we have question 16. So in this question here, we have a trapezium. So I've given you what AD is, AD, BC, and DC. Question wants to know what is the vector DB. So question 16. Alright, so question 16, I'll give you 2 minutes to work that out. Alright, for those of you who are looking at the video right now, please hit like and subscribe when you get a chance. Alright, so I'm seeing C, B. Alright, I'll give you all a chance to work it out. Question 1 is the vector DB, right? So the first thing you all need to make sure you draw You want to get dB. So this is the vector dB here. This is what the question is asking for. What is this vector? Alright, so I'm seeing, so some people are saying C, wow. Okay, so let me see people from my class. So Aaron and Emily are saying B. Alright, let's see. So the question is much easier than you all think, right? So you want to get the vector dB. So the first thing you need to do, look at the diagram. dB, that's this vector here. I must go from, you're starting from D, you're starting from this point. Then you're going to go here. You're going to go here to the point C. And then you're going to go in this direction to get to B. So the vector dB, so from the diagram now, so dB is actually equal to DC plus CB. Again, look at something here. Remember, you want to find dB, you must start at D and end up at B. So we're starting at D and we are ending up at B. And this point here and this point has to be the same. So now, let's look at something here. So the vector DC is actually equal to B, right? According to the information they give us. Plus CB. Plus CB. The vector, look at something. BC is equal to a half A, right? But if I want to go in the opposite direction, I want to go CB. CB is equal to minus a half A. When you want to reverse the direction of a vector, just put a minus sign in front of it. So therefore, CB is equal to minus a half. Alright? So therefore, the answer is actually minus a half A plus B. So just now there's a mistake here. I fix that one time. There's a mistake here. So it's B. Yeah, this is supposed to be a plus, right? Yeah, so I made a mistake. So it's supposed to be minus a half A plus B, right? So the answer here is B. So sorry about that. Some of you may have been working it out and getting the wrong answer, right? So it's minus a half A plus B, right? Because the question wants the vector dB. So if you want to get dB, you must, so this is dB here, look at the arrow. So you want to start at D, then go to C, and then end up at B. So therefore you must go this direction, then this direction here. So therefore you're going to go B minus a half A. Right? So the answer is B for this question. Let's look at question 17. We have the same diagram again, but what I want you to work out, the vector AB. So question 17. Alright, so sorry about that mistake. That's I made a typo there. So question 17. Same diagram again, but I want you to work out the vector AB. Question 17. right? So I'm seeing a lot of A's, right? I think that's something about right there. Let's see. So you want to get the vector AB. So this is the vector AB here, right? This is vector AB. So if you want to go from A to B, make sure you understand what we're doing. So we're going from, we can do this route. So we can go from A to D, then we can go from D to C, and then we can go in this direction here and end up back at B, right? So you look at the diagram first, and then when you have the diagram, then what you're going to do, you're going to say AB, the vector AB is equal to A to D plus D to C plus C to B, right? So look at something here. You want to go from A to B. So you must start off at A and end up at B, right? So you must know if something is wrong with the equation. If you're on the right hand side, if you're not seeing this, you must start at A and you must end up at B. These two letters must be the same. These two letters must be the same, right? My starting and my ending points must be the same, right? So AD now, what is AD? The vector AD is actually equal to A, right? According to the diagram. Then, so this is the vector here, that's A. This here is B, so plus B, right? And then we're going to have to add what is CB. But look at something here. BC, according to the question, is equal to a half A. But we're interested in finding the vector CB, which is in the opposite direction. So therefore, if it's in the opposite direction, just put a minus sign in front of it. So therefore, this here will be minus a half A. So when you work this out now, you can say A plus minus a half gives me a half A plus B. So therefore, the answer is A for question 17. All right. So the answer is A for question 17. All right. So great job, guys. Now let's look at this one here, question 18. All right. So this is also a potential question you could get. We have two vectors A and B, and we want to work out what is A minus 2B. Okay. So question 18. I'll give you 2 minutes to work that out. Question 18. All right, Giselle. Glad you're able to understand it now, right? Just take a look back at the video, right? Sometime later, and it'll start to make sense. Vectors is not an easy topic, I would say. All right, it requires some practice before you get it. So I want you all to try question 18. We have two matrices A, so you have matrix A and matrix B, and you want to work out A minus 2B, right? So I'll give you all 2 minutes there, right? This might take you a little while to work out. So let me set it up in the meantime. You want to work out A minus 2B. So what you're really doing, you're going to write what A is, which is 1, 0, 1 minus 1, minus 2B. 2 multiplied by 1 minus 3, 0, 2. Right? So when you have a matrix and you have a number in front of the matrix, that's what we call a scalar multiplication. Right? That's called a scalar multiplication. Alright, so I'm seeing somebody got an answer already, got C. So how are you all working? I'll work it here at the same time. So we're going to go 1, 0, 1 minus 1. We can't do anything with this as yet. We're going to put minus. Now, what you need to do, you need to take this 2 here and multiply by every single element here. Right? That's what we're going to do. That's how we do a scalar multiplication. So a scalar multiplication is like this. If we have a constant in front and we multiply by a matrix A, B, C, D, right? The answer is going to be K, A, K, B, K, C, and K, D, right? That's what the matrix is going to be. That's called a scalar multiplication, right? So we're going to end up with a 2 by 2 matrix here. 2 by 1 gives me 2. 2 by minus 3 gives me minus 6. 2 by 0 is 0. And then 2 by 2 is 4. Alright? And when you are subtracting or adding matrices, all we do is add or subtract the corresponding positions. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say 1 minus 2. Right? 1 minus 2. Oh, there's a problem here as well. Did I miss out anything? 2, 1 minus 2 gives me minus 1. 0 minus 6 gives me gives me plus 6. 1 minus 0 gives me 1. And minus 1 minus 4 gives me minus 5. Wow. Anybody get any answer that I got? One, 0, 1 minus 1, 1 minus 3, 0, 2. So it'll be 2 minus 6, 0, and 4. All right, great. All right, so let me just fix this one time. Yeah, so B was supposed to be the answer. So this should be a minus here. This is 6, this is 1, and this is 5, right? So the answer should be this, right? So and this should have been 1. Alright, so the answer is supposed to be B. Yes, there was a mistake, right? Sometimes when you are transferring from handwritten things into typing, you make mistakes, right? So, right, so that's 2 mistakes we found so far. Right, so the answer is B in this particular case. Alright, sorry about that. So, question 19. What about this one? Hopefully I have a mistake here. Question 19. Oh, Del is asking if 2 is a scalar. No, it's 2. Just leave the minus sign as is. And you multiply by the 2. So what I'm saying is that you can don't do anything with this minus sign here, right? Just work out 2 multiplied by each of those numbers there and write that as one bracket, as one matrix first. Okay, so question 19. So question 19, you've been given a matrix and you are told that the matrix is singular. So we did a question previously where I told you what a singular matrix is. For a singular matrix, the determinant is equal to 0. So therefore, if this is a matrix A, for this to be singular, the determinant has to be equal to 0. I think Cassie saying P should be 1. Alright, so I'm waiting for some more answers for question 19 here. So Aaron is saying C. So remember, this is just like the previous question we did, right? So the determinant for a singular matrix, so this is what you need to know. Once you see the word singular, what that means is that my determinant is equal to 0. So the determinant of A, right? Remember we say it's AD minus BC, right? That's how we work it out. So it's 2P multiplied by P minus 8 by 4, right? So 2P by P gives me 2P squared minus 32. So this here is my determinant of the matrix A. But if it's singular, so for a singular matrix, my determinant is equal to 0. So therefore, 2P squared minus 32 is equal to 0. So 2P squared is equal to 32. So P squared is equal to 32 over 2. P squared is equal to 32 divided by 2 gives me 16. Alright, I'm just going across any side here. So if P squared is equal to 16, P is equal to the square root of 16. But what I've told you all on many occasions, the square root of any number is plus or minus. So it's plus or minus 4. So therefore the answers are P is equal to 4 and P is equal to minus 4. There are 2 answers for this question, right? So therefore the answer has to be C. So the answer is C for this one, all right? So make sure you understand that the square root of any number is plus or minus something. Because if I take 4 and I multiply by 4, I'm going to get 16. If I take minus 4 and I multiply by minus 4, I'm still going to get 16. So the square root of any number is plus or minus, right? So the answer is C, not just A alone. Okay, so look out for little things like this in the multiple choice exam. So that is question 19. Let's move on to question 20. So you have question 20 here. You have a matrix and you want to find this. What is this? So question 20. Right, this one should be straightforward. You have a matrix A given by -2, -1, 3, 2, and you want to find that. You want to find this. What does that mean? All right, so somebody's saying D. I'll wait for a few more answers. So you want to find the determinant of that matrix. All right, Del is saying A. Emily is also saying A. So all we're doing here for this question here, we know the formula. The determinant of a matrix, right? Write down the formula. It's really A by D minus B by C. All right, that's how we find determinant. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say -2 multiplied by 2 minus -1 by 3. Be very careful with the negative signs. So -2 by 2 gives me -4. Minus -1 by 3 gives me -3. So this is the same as saying -4 plus -4 plus 3. That's what this is. So -4 plus 3 gives me -1. So the answer is actually A. My determinant is equal to A. All right. So I see most of you all had A. Great. What about question 21? So question 21, we have a vector which is A minus 3B. Which of the following vectors is parallel to AB? So question 21. All right, that's in question 21. Aaron saying B, Del saying B. Emily's also saying B. Let's see. So we're looking for parallel vectors, right? So this is a concept that you need to know here. All right. Now, vectors which are parallel. So let's say this is a vector here, right? And we have another vector here, right? So those two vectors are parallel. So if this is A, vector A, then this is also the vector A. But you can also have a vector that looks like this. It's longer, but it's still parallel. So it could be like 2A, it's still parallel, right? Now, when two vectors are parallel, so let's say this was AB, and let's say this vector was CD, right? So vectors that are parallel look like this. AB is equal to K times what the other vector is, right? So when vectors are parallel, one vector is a multiple of the other vector. So in this question, I've given you the vector AB, right? I'm saying AB is equal to A minus 3B. Now if you want a vector that's parallel to this, all you need to do is to multiply it by a number. So let's say if I multiply by 2, a minus 3b, then the vector here will be 2a minus 6b. So this here is a vector that is parallel. So you could see one time that the answer is b. I could also give you another vector that is parallel. A minus 3b, let's say I just multiply by 3. So you're going to get 3a minus 9b. This is also another vector that is parallel. If I multiply by, let's say, minus 2, a minus 3b, then this vector is going to be minus 2a plus 6b, right? This is also a vector that is parallel to this original vector ab. I can even use a fraction. A half multiplied by a minus 3b, right, will give me a half a minus 3 over 2b. This is also another vector that is parallel. So vectors are parallel if we can show that one vector is a multiple of the other vector, right? So the answer is B for question 21, right? So I'm seeing most of you all got that. Move on to question 22. This one. So question 22, we have A and we have B, and I'm telling you that A is equal to B. What are the values of P and Q? So question 22, what do you all think is the answer for this one? All right, I'm seeing Emily and Aaron saying C. So here's how we do in this one. So I'm telling you that A is equal to B, right? So A is equal to B. So the vector A, 2P minus 1, right? And this is 5 here, is equal to B, which is 5Q minus 1, right? So both of these are, if they are equal, it means that 2P minus 1 is equal to 5. That's this 5 here we're talking about, this 5, right? So this on top here, 2P minus 1 is equal to 5. So 2P is equal to 5 plus 1. So 2P is equal to 6. So P is equal to 6 over 2, right? So therefore P is equal to 3, right? So we worked out P. To work out Q now, you need to put 5 equal to this. So therefore 5 is equal to Q minus 1. So we could say Q minus 1 is equal to 5. So therefore Q is equal to 5 plus 1. So therefore Q is equal to 6. So the answer is 3 and 6. So the answer in this case here is C. Alright, so alright, so I don't know who this person is here. Let me just get rid of them. Yeah, no, John, don't worry. This is the last open class for people. So after this, nobody has access to this except my students, right? So anyways, I have no time to take on that. Question 23, right? So we have a vector AB. AB is 1 minus 2. And I want to know what is the vector BA. So question 23. All right. So question 23. All right. So question 23. All right, so take a look at question 23. If we have AB is 1 minus 2, what is the vector BA? All right, so I'm seeing B. So let's see. So remember, I told you all we met a question like this where if you have a vector AB, right, and the vector in this case here is 1 minus 2, but we want to go in the opposite direction, so we want to go this way, so BA. So if you're going in the opposite direction, all you need to do is to put a minus sign in front of it. So 1 minus 2. So if you put a minus sign in front of this becomes minus 1 and this becomes 2. So the answer is minus 1, 2, which is actually B. Right? So that's the answer for question 23. Alright, so that is question 23. So we just have 2 more questions here to do. So question 24, we have the point P lies on the line AB such that AP, so I've given you a ratio here, right? What is the vector AP? So question 24, this one is a little tricky, so be careful, alright? So question 24. So for this question, you need to be careful, right? So, all right, so I'm seeing a lot of D's. I'll find you all work out real fast. So we have AB. So this is A, and this is B, right? So this is a line AB. And the point P is such that the ratio is 1 to 3. So this is here, this point here is a point P. Now when I tell you a ratio 1 to 3, it means that you have 1 part to 3 parts, right? So what that means is that PB is actually divided into three parts. So you have three parts here. This is one part, this is two parts, and this is three parts, right? And then AP is just one part, right? So that's what that means. So now they told us that the vector BA, so the vector BA is equal to 4, 12, right? Now the question is asking what is AP, right? Now AP, right, is actually equal to a quarter. Make sure you understand how I get a quarter. It's really a quarter of AB. That's just based on how it's divided up. Now if you know the vector BA is 4, 12, it means that AB, which is in the opposite direction, is going to be minus 4 minus 12. Right? So therefore this is going to be a quarter multiplied by AB, which is minus 4 minus 12. Right? This is a scalar multiplication. So a quarter by minus 4 gives me minus 1. And then a quarter by minus 12 gives me minus 3. So the answer is actually D. Alright, so see a lot of you all got D. Great. Alright, this was a little tricky one, but the answer is D. And the last question, which is question 25, which is this. I've given you a matrix multiplication here, this. And based on that, I want to know what is the value, or what are the values of X and Y. Alright, so what are the values of X and Y in this case here? So question 25. Oh, so in the case of, okay, so while some of y'all working 25, somebody asking a question about 24. In the case of 24, we need to look at the ratio, right? So this ratio is saying that AP to PB is 1 to 3. So if you have a line AB, the ratio actually tells me where the point P is along this line. So the point P, right, is such that they're telling us that, so P is here, such that AP to PB is 1 to 3. So what that means is that this here represents one part, AP is one part, and PB is divided up into three parts. So you have 1, 2, and this is the last part here. So it's three parts. So therefore, the line AP is actually a quarter of AB. That's the key concept that you need to understand here, right? So from that, based on that information they gave us, we can say that AP is a quarter of AB. But the thing is, in the question, I gave you what AB is. So I want you to work backwards to figure out what AB is. AB is in reverse direction. So that is why, for this part here, I had to put a minus sign in front of it to make it minus 4 minus 12. Alright? And then if it's a quarter AB, it's a quarter multiplied by minus 4 minus 12. That's a scalar multiplication. So a quarter by minus 4 gives me minus 1. And a quarter by minus 12 gives me minus 3. Alright, so question 25. Alright, somebody has D. All right, so question 25. This is one of the steps when you have to, or the first step when you're trying to work out a simultaneous equation using the matrix method, right? So the easiest thing you could do if you are given a question like this is to just do a quick substitution, right? From this here, right? Remember, when you have a simultaneous equation, what you would have done is that the question would have given you a simultaneous equation that looks like this. Plus 2y is equal to 3, and then 2x plus y is equal to 4, right? So in an exam question, they would have given you this, and you would have to write it in this format here. So what you have here is your two simultaneous equations, right? You have, so because it's a multiple choice, you can just substitute values for x and y, or you can actually try to work it out. So this is one equation here, this is a second equation. So in the first equation, we can say that 2y plus 3 is equal to x, right? That's if I rearrange the first equation. And then if I take this now and I substitute it into the second equation, I'm going to end up with 2 multiplied by 2y plus 3 plus y is equal to 4, right? So this will give me 4y plus 6 plus y is equal to 4. So this is that's not, I have a mistake somewhere here. That's not. Minus 1 plus 2y equal to 3. 2x plus y is equal to 4. Oh, sorry, this is a mistake here. This is supposed to be minus 3 here. Yeah, this is minus. Alright, this is a minus here, so this is minus 6. Alright, so 4y plus y equal 5y, and this will be 4 plus 6. So 5y equal to 10. So therefore, y is equal to 10 over 5, which is equal to 2. Right? So if you look at the answers here, the only one that has y equal to 2 is this last one here. Right? So if you have given a question like this in the exam, what you can do is to substitute your values, right? So in this case, the answer is D for question 25. All right. So, so that brings us to the end of the class, right? So for those of you who are not part of my class, this will be the last class that I will be sharing. That was my intention initially anyway. All right. Those interested in joining the class and also getting access to the e-testing platform that I have, right, which will be actual exam questions, which is timed, right? You can either contact me at 868-784-2059, and yes, there is a cost attached to this, right? So a lot of people messaging me and asking if it's free. No, it's not free, right? When you pay, you get an account that allows you to log in and you get to practice the exams, right? And also you get access to all the live classes that we've completed so far. All right. So the next set of multiple choice questions that I'm going to be looking at will be statistics, right? So that'll be a longish one because there are a lot of questions that they bring on statistics. All right. So have a great night, people, and you all take it easy.